Welcome to Vicky 3 Academy. I'm Walker, and here we are doing a How to Conquer in our How To series today. So when it comes to conquering in Victoria 3, I think there are some scales that need to be, you need to be aware of. So if you're a great power, this video kind of doesn't apply to you. If you're a great power, my recommendation when it comes to puppeting is just or when it comes to conquering, is conquer everything. Get away with as much as you feel like you can, because the more that you conquer, the better. You're going to be adding people to your market, adding people in terms of their demand, in terms of their production. It's like generally always good to just be on the constant warpath as a great power, and you just want to your resources are probably going to be large enough that you don't need to be super concerned with that, and more concerned with just getting as much stuff as you can as quickly as you can. But as a minor power or as a major power, that's not true. As a minor power, as a major power, you really do need to be aware of not only what resources you currently have, but what resources you're gonna need. One of the resources that basically every minor or major power is going to need is pops, which is why imperializing and conquering is going to be so useful for you, because they're going to give you ways for you to grow your economy, but you can't grow your economy if you don't have the holy trinity of industrialization. So, the holy trinity of industrialization, what is it? It's logging, iron, and coal. And so you need to make sure that you have all three of those in terms of domestic supply and production. Otherwise, your effort to industrialize your nation and therefore make your nation more powerful, it's not going to work very well. Because most of your industrialization loop at the beginning of the game is going to be construction and those resources that go into construction, which is going to be those three that I highlighted, as well as fabric, which usually you can just float on. You don't need an infinite amount of fabric, but if you want more, capturing more peasants is a way to secure it. But you'll also want to get tooling workshops and steel at some point once you get into steel tools. But that steel is going to require coal. So whenever you're starting as a minor or a major nation, my recommendation is to set up your outliner. You should set it up all of the way. The outliner is really good, and I really hope that at some point soon they start including it. But you've got this outliner, and then you can check your states, and you should be checking them, again, to look for those resources. And so if you're playing Sweden, which is what we're going to be using as our example today, you can just go through and see what's up with your logging and your iron and your coal. And if you go through and you look at both the resources here, as well as these bonuses, because you are going to have some bonuses for most minor nations. Very, very small minor nations might not. But that's going to help you understand the resources that you have available to you. As Sweden in particular, you have tons of logging and iron, but you really don't have any coal. If you in fact have literally no coal, you can do this exact same trick by just going to somebody else's coal mine. Doesn't matter. But just go over a coal mine, mouse over it, mouse over coal, go to detail screen, and then go to the market. You can't do that straight out of the market because you're not producing any coal, and so it can be a little annoying at first, but that trick will lead you to this page 100% of the time, no matter what you're looking for, whether it's coal or iron or wood or whatever. And then you can look here at the show potentials on map, because that's going to show you where on the map the resources that you are looking for can be found, right? And so if you're looking for coal, you see, oh, there's this giant strip here in Central Europe. That would be awesome to get to, but Sweden is not going to be in a position to fight against Russia, Austria, or Prussia, or France, or Great Britain anytime soon. Probably not even in a good position to beat Spain. But you might have some luck conquering Madagascar or Zulu or something like that. Or maybe you want to fight Vietnam. You want to scale in who you are fighting depending on the size of your army and your navy. And I highlighted army and navy because you're going to need both whenever you are ready to start conquering things, which is going to be dependent on the size and scale of your economy. You really do want to make sure that you have a navy that's large enough to actually move your army about. So if we were to start wars right now as Sweden, we would actually be in a really bad position because this 10 stack can't provide sufficient naval support for a 20 stack. But the way we can get around that, of course, is by going into our military page and recruiting another general. Intelligentsia? Sure, why not? And now we have two 15 stacks. 15 stacks are going to still get an insufficient naval penalty, but we can do that again, right? We can go ahead and just recruit another one. And now we have 3 10 stacks. 3 10 stacks are going to be a lot more efficient for us, simply because we're going to avoid the insufficient naval penalty. We have line infantry and mobile artillery, which means that against most people, not great powers, but against most of these enemies that we're going to be facing down here, we should be in good shape. So let's go ahead and set an interest down here, and this will allow us to declare war on Madagascar. Hopefully there aren't any great powers that are floating around that might be problematic for us, but we'll find out. So in addition to being able to search for coal, you can search for iron, wood, whatever. You can search for any resource in the same way. You can look at tea, you can look at detail screen, you can go to the market, you can go to show potentials on map, and you can see, oh, there's the tea in the world, right? Then open a Diplo play against whoever has it. When it comes to how you build your Diplo play, it kind of depends on what your goal is and the nature of how much strength you have. If you need to take this coal and start developing it right away, then you probably do need to do a conquer state play against this country, because otherwise they may very well not develop it while they are puppeted by you. But fortunately, I really do think that puppet annex is going to be the route for most people most of the time, and so you don't need to worry too much about, all right, is the AI going to build this resource in the next 5 years? Because you're going to take over the country at some point. So we've started a Diplo play to puppet against Madagascar. We did that because, generally speaking, you're going to get less infamy, and this allows you to take the entirety of the country in one Diplo play, whether or not you're big or small. There are some cases, I think, like Belgium, for instance, where you might want to actually do Conquer State against Netherlands because you want to puppet them later. My recommendation is don't be too cute about it. Puppets are very good. They're also kind of historical in the sense that this is the way that nations would have expanded during this time frame. We are going to puppet Marina, and then of course we're going to keep an eye in here. So France swayed by obligation to help Marina, of course. The AI is extremely bloodthirsty when it comes to this sort of nonsense. They are constantly intervening in wars in 1.0.6. Kind of to their own detriment. We are also going to make sure that we don't have an input goods shortage when it comes to our military goods. Anytime you do any sort of warfare in Victoria 3, if you have an input goods shortage on any of the things that are currently being used by your barracks, they are not going to be fighting at anywhere near maximum efficiency. And so make sure that that's not an issue for you. We're going to do a naval invasion here. So we'll go ahead and plan that invasion. And hopefully the French aren't going to intercept us along here. That'd be really annoying. But what are you going to do? The French got swayed by an obligation. They love getting swayed by obligations these days. You know how it is. Obligations to Zulu, those are definitely worth committing your diplomatic and military resources, right? Generally speaking, if you're going to be fighting along a land border with a great power, that's terrifying and inadvisable. But if you're fighting like this down here against Madagascar, you're probably going to be all right. Yep, and there we've got another naval invasion coming down from the north. Once we've capitulated Madagascar, then we can actually in turn surrender to France, because France has not, they were pulled in via obligation. So that's something that I want to tell you as a new player. You might think that just because a great power is resisting you, that like you should just start over your entire run. It's not entirely true. It depends on what's going on. That's okay. We already have inflicted quite a lot of war support problems to Marina, and so we'll get back out there and invade yet again. Don't let the great powers get you down. That's I think the most important thing when it comes to doing these sorts of invasions and whatnot. Don't let great powers hold you back. Because these guys are bullies. They're bullies and they're jerks. And the more that you are willing to fight back against them, I think you'll find that great power resistance is not as spooky as it seems. We just want to keep inflicting war support problems on Madagascar until they capitulate. That's all we need to do. If we can inflict enough war support problems that they can get down to 100, they'll surrender. Patch 1.1 is going to adjust the way your your morale is calculated in a way that's going to, yep, there we go. There we go. All right, so we won the war despite the fact that the French decided to intervene against us, even on a protective attitude. But that's, you know, that's the nature of patch 1.6 right now, is that you can anticipate that great powers are going to stick their nose in where they are not welcome. But as long as you are persistent and you've targeted the right territory, you should be able to win. So we were able to beat down Madagascar despite the fact that the French Foreign Legion was deployed to fight against us. And again, despite the fact that France was friendly to us. And that's sort of what I want you to take away from this is don't be discouraged, especially if there isn't a land border back to your capital wherever you're invading. If a great power intervenes, they're going to be annoying, and hopefully you can come up with a way to push past them. The smaller the target that you're fighting, the easier it's going to be for you to puppet them. Look at that, the Zulu just backs down, and so now we've picked up the Zulu puppet, and that's another thing that's going to be really helpful for us. You don't need to send all of your troops down to the front right away unless you want to. Troops that are on a front are going to suffer attrition, but by putting these troops on the field as quickly as possible, hopefully we are going to be able to just force these guys to capitulate again. And the reason that I'm targeting this, of course, is because if you recall, coal is very present down here in southern Madagascar, but it's just as similarly, it's all over the place down here by Zululand, and so just dial in where you are conquering to the resources that you need. Who is backing you up? Great Britain is backing you up? All right, well, you know what? We'll see if we can fight yet another great power here on We Play Games. I like fighting great powers. I don't know. If you like fighting great powers, let me know, because that's what we're gonna be doing. That is what we're gonna be doing. Not afraid of them until they start launching naval invasions of Sweden. Once they start launching naval invasions of Sweden, then this will be a lot scarier. But at the moment, we should be okay. Zulu, you know, I really appreciate your help in fighting the Boers, but it would be really helpful to the Imperial project if you wouldn't attack and would instead just wait for the people who have guns to attack. That would be really sweet. That's the like the hidden downside to having puppets, is that the puppets are going to go to battle for you, and if you're fighting against somebody who is stronger than your puppets, then they can cost you territory by starting fights that they can't win. But that's okay. That's a temporary problem. Long-term solution, of course, is to just annex them. But yeah, this is like sort of how to conquer, is to make sure that you have a navy that's capable of projecting force. Make sure that you have a plan for how to deal with an issue where a great power intervenes against you, because they will. The plan might also be to just back down. You can lose wars. Don't ever think that if you lose a war in Victoria 3 that's the end of your campaign. It's almost never. It's very easy to bounce back from having offered war reparations to someone, or if you have to offer independence to someone you're trying to annex. And so just be aware that your goal in regards to conquest is to make sure that you can do it as quickly, as efficiently, and as cheaply as possible. And that does mean bullying people, right? Don't attack Great Britain. Let them do the obligation dance for you. And if you can just occupy parts of the territory that you're fighting against, that's all you really need to win, because once you start occupying stuff and their war support dips below 100, you're going to win the puppet war, I promise. And of course, when you're fighting them, if you really want to get the extra value here when you're setting up your war, when you're setting up your peace treaty, just make sure that you demand war reparations and stuff, so that way in the event that they decide to call in a great power and fight against you, that they pay for it, right? And here we go. We're gonna puppet Transvaal, and then I think that'll tell you basically all you need to know. I mean, frankly, the puppet of Transvaal is not even necessary for you to know. I just wanted to show you that, like, again, don't be afraid of great powers. They can be annoying to fight against, but they're not the end of the world. And we are currently having issues with occupation. So yeah, Great Britain has launched a naval invasion over here, but that's okay. That is totally fine because we can bring our dudes back and start defending if we want. But again, as long as their war support is dipping faster than your war support, you'll win the war. And if they don't, if the Great Power does not have a war goal against you, that's gonna mess you up, you can just win the fight and move on. All right. Yep, that's Walker, and that is How to Conquer. All right, take care.